we received one question regarding CI/CD. So the question was he following or is he following? Our deployment process is very manual, mostly running scripts by hand. How does a CI/CD pipeline for a data warehouse actually work, and what are the essential stages we should consider to get started? Before we start, what's the idea of a CI/CD process? So CI/CD means continuous integration, continuous delivery or deployment. And the goal is to automate the path from development to production, basically. And instead of complex manual steps that happen every time a CI/CD pipeline breaks down the process into a series of automated stages. And in a data warehouse, the data platform, the challenge is like compared to, let's say, software applications where you simply create a new version, right? That your data warehouse has state, so it contains historical data. You can't just turn it off and replace it. Instead of replacing the system, your pipeline is applying changes to it. So, for example, adding a new column, updating a table, modifying a view, for example. This is crucial because it means our pipeline must be very careful not to break or to lose any data. So, first of all, everything must live, or in the best case, live in a version control system, for example, GitHub, GitLab, Azure DevOps, whatever, because it gives you a single source of truth of your code and an audit trail of every change, and basically the ability for multiple developers to work in parallel using feature branches, for example. And the entire automated process begins when a developer pushes the changes. So when a new code is pushed to a branch or a pull request is created, the CI phase kicks in automatically. The goal here is fast feedback without even touching the target environment. So first, your pipeline spins up a separated CI environment, so separated from your target database or target environment. And afterwards, the CI pipeline runs multiple steps. And I mean, you can define those steps based on your use case, right? But we recommend some basic steps like to run all changed models or entities and all dependent entities to create or to test if the new changes integrate into your existing model. And then we recommend to run defined tests. So for example, unit tests to test the business logic, to run data tests, for instance, not null tests, uniqueness tests, relationship tests. And here it's you can issue follow the data vault 2 approach, for example. Then it's really easy to define tests because as you know, or as you might know, data vault is really pattern based. So all those entities like subs, links, satellites looks quite the same. So every hub looks the same, every satellite looks the same, and also the way how you load entities is very similar. So once you defined the data tests for each entity type, you could simply utilize the same test for all your models, right? And you could even test in the CI pipeline. You could even test if all tests of a new entity is available, right? Because if the developer simply doesn't define any test, the pipeline can't fail a test. So you could even test if everything is defined, if tests are defined, if the code or the entities are documented. And if any of these steps fail, the pipeline stops immediately and the developer receive a notification. I would like to mention some recommendations here. So we recommend to create the CI environment as similar as possible to the production environment regarding infrastructure, security, software, drivers, etc. And create tests on source databases and source files derived from the real data, because only real or production data gives you all the possible cases. And those tests on source files and source databases should be small so that the tests can run quickly. Otherwise, the CI pipelines takes like hours or even longer, right? And those tests should also be static so that the expected results are known in advance, and you can like rerun those tests every time and compare the results. And what else? You should test initial load and incremental load patterns, as the logic of both patterns is different in most cases, right? And last but not least, run tests not only against the changes to be merged, but also against all the downstream dependencies or even the whole loading process to test for regressions. And once the CI checks are passed or are successful, the code is merged into your main branch, and afterwards the CD process begins. So the pipeline connects to a target database, which is in the best case a separated, isolated copy of your production environment, and the pipeline executes the code against the database, actually building the tables and views basically. And now you run those tests on the actual data in your target again. And your last step would be then the production stage. So if all tests passed in your pre-production environment, the pipeline moves to production, and after deployment, there you can run the tests one more time to ensure everything is perfect, basically. That's a quite simplified process, right? Because you have maybe multiple environments. Like our minimum recommendation is just R3 environments, dev, UAT, and prod. But you could even have like 4 or 5 environments, right? And then the CI/CD process is a bit more complex. So often we run those CI/CD pipelines multiple times. So, for example, when you create a feature branch and you are finished or done with your development, you start a CI process or a CI/CD process even before merging your code into dev, because this way you already ensure high quality code and high quality data already in dev, because dev is basically the branch where you like create your feature branches, right? And once you tested like you run your development tests on the dev environment, you deploy your changes into the next higher environment, which could be, for example, UAT. And there you're gonna run the CI pipeline and all those tests again, because just because the CI pipeline was successful when deploying to dev doesn't mean it is successful when deploying to UAT, because the code might differ. If you compare dev to QA, because to UAT, because many developers are working at the same time and deploying changes or merging changes to dev. So the state or the code of dev could be just different in UAT or in the next higher environment. So that's why we recommend to again run the CI/CD process for every next higher environment, basically. Other than that, thanks for coming. I wish you a nice weekend and see you hopefully next Friday. Bye bye.